I have always thought that to be authentic, you have to know who you are authentically. From this, I am forced to ask myself, who is the real me? What are the qualities of my character that make me genuine? I would like to think that a lot of what I do in my life and the people I interact with and how I interact with them is me being authentic. In social situations or anything really, I feel that I am being honest, but I can't help but feel that I'm just not being authentic. No matter how many times I can be reassured, I just can't bring myself to think of what being authentic is. There are a lot of moments I reflect back on, constantly thinking about how I could have handled the situation better, or I guess in a way that is more authentic to me. I do learn from those experiences, but what does that really mean? From this, I'm just cycled back to ask myself, who am I authentically? I can come up with as many different ways as to what I could have done, but I will never get to being real. I don't know who the true authentic me is, so as much as I try, I will never be satisfied. So, why should I worry myself about being authentic? The main concern is that I will begin to lose myself because I'm not being my true self. I worry that I'm going to hurt those around me in some sort of way. I fear that I will become a person that will just do to satisfy others by just being nice, without being kind to them. These aren't random concerns that I have either, because according to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the concerns I have are pretty common. It is described that a frequently mentioned worry with the ideal of authenticity is that the focus on one's own inner feelings and attitudes may breed a self-centered preoccupation with oneself that is antisocial and destructive of altruism and compassion towards others. It is not stated exactly, but has the same idea. Later, it talks about how destructive it is to view authenticity as an individual pursuit. When there's a disconnection between oneself and the community, we begin to lose the self. There's a really great YouTube channel, Olivia, that has helped form my views on authenticity. In her video, Self-Centeredness is Not Self-Care, Losing the Human Face Online, the main idea isn't about authenticity, but she makes a lot of good points that can be applied anyways. The first point I want to mention is when she's talking about the other and how the other checks our being.
Ethics is not about autonomous individuals acting out of obligation to each other. Rather, it flows out of experiencing the radical vulnerability and dependence of the other. It is the other that calls our being into question. We have to justify our right to be in light of our responsibility toward the other.
From that little bit of the video, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I highly recommend watching the whole thing for yourself. The part I want to focus on is the line, "It is the other that calls our being into question. We have to justify our right to exist." In terms of the self and community, the community calls the self's being into question. There needs to be a bond between the individual and the community in order to justify our right to exist. So I shouldn't let my fear of hurting the people around me stop me from trying to be authentic, because really, it's the people around me that make me authentic. Without them, I would lose my sense of self. It's a balance. Without the other, we wouldn't know the individual. Olivia then goes on to explain how this interaction between the self and the other separates the individual from the other.
Levinas doesn't think of individuals as isolated selves. He says that facing the vulnerability, the mortality of the other, is what individuates you, because no one else can take your place in facing the other, in being responsible towards them. In that moment of contact between these two subjects, how you respond, whether by caring for the other or choosing to hurt them, is a moment of self-expression, and your choice towards the other is what separates you as an individual.
It is that interaction that allows for moments of self-expression that leads to the creation of the individual. Without the other, there'd be no way to build authenticity. The last point from this video that I'm going to talk about is when Olivia is explaining how we shouldn't be people pleasers, but that doesn't mean we can't be kind to them.
I am in no way advocating for us to be people pleasers or to tolerate unfair treatment. I know how much that sucks from personal experience. I can be a horrible people pleaser and I'm still working on it. But with Levinas's philosophy, I hope the default mindset we cultivate towards others is, I hope I can be kind to you. I hope I do not hurt you. And I want to be responsible for your well-being. I hope we get to a place where we want to approach others with a genuine intention of cherishing their humanness. And even when they upset you or hurt you, you still remember their humanness. We can of course still hold others accountable, be angry at them, set boundaries, without sacrificing an empathetic mindset.
Just the line, "I hope I can be kind to you, I hope I do not hurt you, and I want to be responsible for your well-being," is such a strong message that is something I want to start living by. Authentic or not, I agree, this should be the default, this should be the way we approach others. I have misunderstood that there must be a true original self for there to be authenticity. It is a mistake to look at authenticity in the same way we value collectibles. It creates the assumption that the self works in the same way. A line from the Stanford Encyclopedia states, "If we are self-constituting beings who make ourselves up from one moment to the next, it appears that the term authenticity can only refer to whatever feels right at some particular moment. The whatever feels right is the self-expression. This moment is the other checking our being." Another section from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy claims that rather than searching for a hidden true self, one should attempt to shape one's life as a work of art. Because there is not a true original self, one should not attempt to find it, but instead attempt to create it. With all the moments of self-expression in one's life, we should use it to determine the person we are authentically. Continually shaping ourselves throughout our lives, authenticity will never be reached, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue it. All the time, people create amazing works of art, whether it's music, movies, or paintings. We still create even though we know it won't last forever. Just because we know the movie's going to end doesn't mean we are just going to stop watching it. Authenticity will always be something we develop over time, through our own social interactions and through our own experiences. It's how we create our authentic self.